Have you ever found yourself at a crossroads in your relationship, wondering if you should keep going or walk away? Could you forgive infidelity? Would you stay in a relationship despite a long separation, struggles with addiction, or constant routine and arguments? Often you might encounter opposing views on the same issue. For example, you might think, relationships are hard, breaking up is hard, but if both options are complicated, why not choose the one that could bring peace and personal well-being? However, you might also hear someone say, relationships are hard, breaking up is hard, both are complicated, but if both are complicated, why not try to work it out together? With so many contradictory perspectives, it's easy to get overwhelmed with opposing ideas. Today we are going to compare and explore various aspects that could influence such an important decision, showing that not everything is black or white. And stay until the end because we will give you 2 key questions that could help you gain more clarity about your own relationship and find the answers you are looking for. We compare, you decide. Let's start with a direct and powerful question. Could you forgive infidelity? This issue is one of the most common causes of breakups in relationships. Although some couples decide to try again and work on rebuilding trust, infidelity brings pain, confusion, and raises questions about self-love and mutual respect. Let's take Beyoncé and Jay-Z as an example. 2 superstars with a seemingly perfect relationship until it was revealed that Jay-Z had been unfaithful. Instead of breaking up, Beyoncé and he decided to face it together. Both channeled their pain and regret into their music, with Lemonade and 444, exploring their emotions and opening a path towards healing. But this does not mean it was easy. Beyoncé chose to rebuild trust, a process that both knew would require time, commitment, and vulnerability. In this regard, Dr. John Gottman, a psychologist and expert in couple relationships, known for his scientific research on the factors that predict success or failure in relationships, invites us to ask ourselves, if my partner is truly committed to changing and working on the relationship, am I able to let go of resentment and give a genuine opportunity for change? In Western cultures, infidelity is a serious reason to break up, but it is also common for many couples to opt for reconciliation. However, in some Middle Eastern countries or traditional communities, infidelity not only means personal betrayal, but a stain on the entire family. In those contexts, cultural and social pressure can make reconciliation impossible. Sign to continue or end. Dr. Gottman suggests that infidelity does not have to be an endpoint if there is a real commitment from both parties to heal. This includes sincere repentance, willingness to work on underlying issues, and transparency to rebuild trust. However, if infidelity is repeated, if there is a lack of commitment to change, or if the relationship becomes emotionally damaging, then it is a clear sign that it may be better to say goodbye. What about you? Do you feel like you could truly heal and rebuild trust? Stay until the end of the video to learn about 2 key questions that will help you answer whether it's worth ending or continuing. And don't forget to let me know in the comments. I want to hear your opinion. Let's move on to another big challenge, physical distance. When distance comes into play, the relationship faces unique challenges that not all couples manage to overcome. Distance can unite and strengthen the relationship, but it can also reveal problems that would otherwise remain hidden. Let's look at the case of Prince Harry and Meghan. At the beginning of their relationship, Meghan lived in Toronto and Harry in London. They were separated by thousands of miles and the weight of their responsibilities. But instead of giving up, they found ways to stay connected. Through trips, calls, and constant messages, they strengthened their relationship. For them, distance was a test that they overcame with effort, and finally, they were able to start a life together. Dr. John Gottman's key question. For long-distance relationships, Dr. Gottman suggests asking yourself, when you are away from your partner, do you feel more secure and valued? Or does the distance only aggravate your insecurities? This helps to explore whether distance is positively or negatively affecting emotional security in the relationship. Sign to continue or end. According to a study in the Journal of Communication, long-distance relationships can thrive if both parties are committed to maintaining communication and have a clear goal of reunification. If the distance strengthens the bond and there is a plan for the future, it can be a positive test. However, if the distance generates insecurity, constant arguments, or lack of commitment, it could be a sign that the relationship does not have a solid future. Could you maintain the relationship despite a long separation? Or is distance a test that would make you question if that person is really the right one for you? Now let's address an even more delicate situation: addictions. Alcoholism or substance abuse affects not only the person who suffers from them, but also their environment, and particularly their partner. A famous example is actor Anthony Hopkins. Hopkins faced a tough battle with alcoholism, and thanks to the unconditional support of his wife, Stella Arroyave, he managed to stay sober and save his career and personal life. Stella was his anchor in a time of crisis, and together they managed to rebuild their relationship and emotional stability. Dr. John Gottman's key question: when dealing with a partner who has an addiction, ask yourself, if my partner seeks help and shows progress, can I provide support without compromising my mental and emotional well-being? This helps to clarify personal boundaries and assess the emotional impact. In the West, it is common for couples to support their loved ones in rehabilitation processes, as it is considered an illness that can be overcome with proper support. On the other hand, in countries like India, the social stigma towards addictions is very high. An addiction can be seen as a lack of character and, in many cases, can lead to social isolation, making it difficult for the couple to feel supported to stay. According to the American Psychological Association, APA, a partner can be a great source of support in addiction recovery, but it is crucial that it does not become a sacrifice that affects the emotional health of the person helping. If your partner shows interest in improving and is committed to recovery, your support can make all the difference. But if addiction is constant and there is no interest in change, prioritizing your well-being may be the right decision. To what extent are you willing to support someone who is struggling with addiction? Would that be a no more for you if you don't see changes? Stay tuned, because later I will share with you a list of signs that will help you decide. Tell me in the comments, I'm interested to know how you see it. Routine and constant arguments are other factors that, although less dramatic than infidelity or addiction, can deeply wear down a relationship. Routine can lead to monotony, making the things we used to love about our partner predictable and boring. This, combined with constant arguments, can make us wonder if it's worth going on. A clear example of a famous couple who faced this is Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. Both have spoken openly about how routine and constant disagreements led them to a crisis point. However, they decided to address these issues by finding new ways to connect and rekindle the spark in their relationship. With a lot of work and dialogue, they managed to find a balance, showing that even the most famous couples can be affected by routine and find ways to overcome it. Esther Perel, renowned Belgian psychotherapist and author, is an expert in couple relationships and known for her lectures and books on love, intimacy, and relationship dynamics. On this topic, Esther Perel suggests asking yourself, when we fight, do we get to understand each other better and get closer, or do our fights only drive us further apart? This helps to reflect on whether constant fights are constructive or are eroding the connection. The key to deciding whether it's worth continuing when routine and fights become recurrent is the willingness of both to change. If both recognize the problem and are willing to make a conscious effort to improve, the relationship can emerge stronger. This may include new activities together, couples therapy, or simply changing everyday dynamics to break the monotony. Now, if one of the two is not willing to make changes and the constant fights are affecting the emotional health of both, it might be time to consider whether that relationship is really contributing to their happiness. What about you? What has worked for you to get out of the routine in your relationships? Do you think constant fights can be an opportunity to grow, or simply signs that there is no solution? Although we have addressed several examples of reasons to end a relationship, there are many others that could lead us to that crossroads. Next, we will briefly mention some other reasons and signs to decide whether it is better to continue or end, with a quick comparison of both alternatives. Lack of long-term goal compatibility. If you both have very different goals for the future, for example, one wants children and the other does not, it is important to assess whether it is possible to reach a compromise or whether it is better to end before generating resentment. Continue. It may be worth it if there is room for negotiation and both are willing to adapt. End. If these fundamental goals do not coincide and neither is willing to give in, it is probably better to go your separate ways. Lack of affection or emotional connection. A relationship without affection or connection can become unsatisfactory and empty. Continue. If both recognize the problem and want to work on rekindling love and intimacy, it may be worth the effort. And if the lack of affection persists and there is no interest in changing, the relationship may have no future. Constant financial problems. Constant arguments about money can wear down a relationship. Continue. If both are willing to work together on a financial plan, the situation can improve. End. If financial problems cause too much conflict and one of the two is not willing to seek solutions, it may be a reason to end. Lack of support in difficult times. In a healthy relationship, both must support each other. Continue. If both recognize the lack of support and want to improve, they can strengthen their relationship. End. If the lack of support is constant and it feels like a one-sided relationship, it might be better to consider ending. Violence or abuse. Whether physical, verbal, or emotional, any type of abuse is a red flag. End. In abusive situations, it is always best to seek support and get out of the relationship to protect your well-being. Final reflection. Listen and trust yourself. In the end, no one but you knows the full story of your relationship. Listening to experts and those close to you can help you see the relationship from another angle, but you are the one who lives that relationship day by day. Each of us has our deal breakers, those limits that mark how far we can go without sacrificing our peace and self-worth. In my case, physical violence, verbal violence, repeated infidelity, or constant disinterest would be my no more. What are yours? What boundaries would you set to protect your well-being? And here are the 2 key questions I promised you, formulated by Dr. Esther Perel, renowned psychotherapist, famous for her focus on intimacy and the complexity of love. Here is the first question. Am I growing in this relationship or am I just surviving? And the second question, does this relationship nurture my sense of well-being and make me feel loved? Or do I feel like I am constantly struggling to receive love? Remember that every relationship is unique, and what is acceptable to some, for others, may be a clear sign that it is time to end. Building something lasting is not easy. It requires patience, commitment, and a lot of effort. But at the same time, we must recognize when that effort is no longer healthy for us. So, take a moment to reflect on your relationship and, above all, on your own limits. Because in the end, there is no point in maintaining a relationship if it permanently compromises your well-being and inner peace. Thank you for joining me on this journey of reflection. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who may be needing clarity in their relationship. And remember, the final decision is always in your hands. And on a personal note, always take care of yourself. Whether single or in a relationship, life is one and we deserve to be happy. We compare. You decide.